Good morning. The time has come once again to speak of bicycles. Not the surly this time. I've covered that in about as much detail as I can muster, I think. Today is all about the bike that I'm currently riding in Sweden, which is an Engwe L20. It is an e-bike, and full disclosure, Engwe sent me this bike for free and asked me if I would do a review of it. I was looking for a bike at the time, so I agreed on the proviso that I could spend a while getting used to it and that they wouldn't expect me to do a positive review just because they sent me a free bike. They were happy with all of that, which is positive. I've now done probably a few hundred kilometers on it, I should think, over the space of a few rides. And so I've come out here today to this old quarry on the Bäckhalledalen Nature Reserve just outside Simrishamn to spot some really amazing mushrooms, some lovely moss and lichen, but also to chat about this bike, the Engwe L20. Let's get some spec out of the way first thing. We are dealing with a 250 watt hub motor on the back wheel, 50 newton meters of torque, a 48 volt 13 amp hour battery. Now, whenever I mention newton meters, amp hours, watt, pound, foot, inches, or any of that sort of stuff, I am quoting from the brochure. I don't really know what any of that means. Hopefully it's useful to some of you. The battery charges from empty to full in 6 or 7 hours. It gives you an advertised top range of 140 kilometers, top speed 25 kilometers an hour. More to my understanding, we've got 2 wheels, useful. Each one is 20 inches, the tyres are 4 inches. Each one also has a 160 millimeter disc brake. We have lockable front suspension, we have 7 Shimano gears, we have front and rear racks, front and rear lights, a big spongy saddle, 5 levels of electrical pedal assist, and a bell. The whole thing weighs in just over 40 kilograms and costs at the moment just over 1,000 euros. There we have it. When I first mentioned on the socials that I was riding an e-bike, as expected, I got a few replies from people saying, "Oh, don't do it, don't get sucked in, it's not real cycling, it's cheating." So I just want to quickly address my thoughts on e-bikes in general, because I think they're brilliant and I think they're really important. Now, I've met so many people, both in real life out on rides and through this channel, who have got back into cycling or taken up cycling because of this development in technology. You know, people who found themselves less physically able to cycle, people who had just sort of drifted away from it, people who had never even been into it before, who've been drawn in by this new technology, this exciting advancement. You know, there are people who have suddenly realised that given that extra little boost that a battery and a motor can deliver, that slightly lengthy commute is doable by bike. That slightly lengthy trip into town to the shops, suddenly that's doable by bike instead of driving. And this is a good thing. This is a good thing for those people doing those rides. It's a good thing for the general public, for the wider world. It's a good thing for everyone. The more people on bikes, the better. It's very hard to find an argument against that statement. As a utility vehicle, as an everyday tool, an e-bike is incredibly valuable. And for enjoyment too. You know, people get funny about going to a trail centre and seeing people on their e-mountain bikes buzzing up the climbs like they're not earning their downhill fun or something. But again, I say, you know what? It's people out on their bikes, enjoying being outside, enjoying cycling, living their lives. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. And you know, as a quick sort of pointer to anyone who hasn't ridden an e-bike before, who doesn't know exactly how they work, these are not scooters, although we shall get to that later. These are not scooters, they are electrically assisted bicycles. You know, you have to pedal, you have to put in effort, or you don't go anywhere. And I was really pleased actually to find that there is some technique, there is some skill involved in riding it in such a way that you maximise the boost that you do get from the battery and from the motor, you know, range and output and all that thing. So yeah, we'll do all of that in a minute. But for now, I think to keep this video a little bit interesting, we're going to move on, see if we can find a new location for the next bit. So, as a general fan of e-bikes, but someone who doesn't have a huge amount of experience actually riding them, what are my thoughts on the Engwe L20? I've really enjoyed it so far. It's been out on all kinds of rides with me, and it has delivered every time. You know, having the double rack has been very, very handy, being here in Simrishamn with Louise and Minna, because we've been able to load it up with picnic stuff, with beach stuff, you know, and go off on little day trips, pottering around town, going to the shops and things. It's been very, very useful in those scenarios, but it's also been out on some much longer rides with me, and that has had very satisfying results, because obviously for a lot of people, you get an e-bike, the big kind of elephant in the room that you want to know about is range. 140 as advertised. If any of you watched my shelter verification video, which I shall link to up there, I think, maybe up there, I can never remember, and down below, that ride was done on this bike. That was over 90 kilometers, and I ended that with enough battery left that at no point was I worried that I wasn't going to make it, which was really, really pleasing actually, because that wasn't an easy ride. You know, it wasn't all smooth tarmac. That was there was some pretty decent climbs, there were some rough climbs, you know, forestry trails, lots of gravel, some muddy sort of paths through the woods, you know, all kinds of things. I pushed it, and I did most of it in the 4th and 5th levels of e-assist as well, so I wasn't being frugal, you know, I was really seeing what I could get out of it. Could I have got 140 kilometers as advertised? I think on that day, probably not. But as I mentioned before, there is actually some technique involved in maximizing what you get out of the battery and out of the motor. So you can put it in level 5 assist and just lazily turn the pedals just enough that it engages the motor, and that does all the work. If you ride it like that, you will rinse your battery in no time flat. But if you're a little bit more mindful and you use your gears and you ride it as you would a standard bike and just let the motor kind of chip in something along with the effort that you expend, then you will vastly increase the range that you get out of it. And on the right day, on the right surface, maybe 140 kilometers isn't so massively out of the question. Obviously, it's going to vary hugely depending on rider, surface, tyre pressure, how clean your drivetrain is, headwind, all of that stuff. But yeah, maybe. 25 kilometers an hour. As mentioned, it has 5 levels of e-assist. The first 2 are very minimal. They just really make a heavy bike ride like a normal bike, and you'll get the most out of the battery if you stick to those. Level 3, you really start to feel some extra oomph going into your ride. 4 and 5, you're properly cruising, and you'll hold that 25k top speed into headwinds, up hills, rough terrain, the lot. Obviously that uses the battery faster. To my inexperienced muscles, it feels like the power delivery is quite sudden, like the curve is quite steep. So you'll go from, when you start pedaling, you'll go from no assistance to full assistance quite rapidly, and it drops off equally rapidly if you stop pedaling. I mean, it's not a problem, it's just something I've observed, and may just be that I'm not used to having that boost, you know, being someone who rides a standard bike so much. Now, I mentioned that it is just e-assist. It's not a full kind of throttle control thing. I believe you can chip the system on it. I believe there are ways to increase the maximum top speed. I believe there are ways to turn it into a throttle controlled, basically an e-scooter. It even comes with a little twist throttle on the handlebars. I don't know how to do it. I've not looked into it, partly because it's technically illegal, but mostly because I'm a cyclist. I enjoy cycling. I enjoy the feeling of my legs delivering power to the bicycle. I'm not averse to having a little bit of help with that, but I like to feel like I'm doing something, being involved in the process. So I've kept mine as it was at the box. 5 levels of assist, 25 kilometers an hour, top speed. You want a monkey with that? Be my guest, but you didn't hear it from me, all right? You ain't seen me. Nothing major, I don't think. No real deal breakers. The thing that has garnered the most comment from others, I guess, is the general kind of styling of it. It doesn't look like a standard sort of old-fashioned bicycle. I've never been someone to care overly much about how my bike looks in comparison to how it rides, but I think it's fair to say that Engwe do have quite a strong design language across all of their models that may or may not be to your taste. I mention this as a thing with no particular feelings one way or the other. Something that I will mention, something a bit more practical, is the wheel set. 20 by 4. There may be practical reasons why it was designed this way. It may just be a stylistic thing. The 4-inch tyres, they do give quite good suspension, but the overall smaller diameter of the wheel means that when you go on very rough trails, it does get quite rattly. And I ride on quite rough trails. This might be the fact that I'm trying to push this bike onto rougher surfaces than it was really designed for, and actually I should stop complaining and celebrate the fact that it does perform on those types of trails. But yeah, again, it's just something that I mention, having ridden it a bit. The tyres are quite loud. Even when they're at high pressure, rolling on smooth tarmac, there is an audible whir to them, which is something that lots of other people have mentioned to me. They say I sound like a moped coming up behind them. Again, it's not the end of the world. It's just a thing that I've noticed about this bike. That is the $1 million question, isn't it? And the one that I've been mulling over myself. And you know what? I actually genuinely think it really could. I think you could load this bike up, and if you picked a route that put you on 50-60 kilometers a day on semi-decent gravel. No huge mountains to climb, nothing too horribly rough and technical, and that ended each day at a campsite where you knew you could recharge, I think you'd have a really fun ride. You definitely wouldn't want to run out of batteries. Yeah, this is a heavy bike and it is not designed to be ridden without the e-assist. I mean, I guess this is obvious because it's an e-bike, but I think it's just worth iterating here that with this loaded up without a battery, you wouldn't even be struggling gainfully along. You'd be sitting on the side of the road waiting for someone to pick you up. You know, and similarly, I think even with the e-assist, if you were to take this on long, technical, fiddly kind of hardcore, big climb sort of ride, you would start to fight the geometry a little bit in the end, because it is a very sort of upright, cruising focused posture, which I really like. You know, it's the way I've tried to make my Surly, but it's this takes it to extremes, and it's not really designed for kind of head down, you know, technical kind of riding. And you know, they're not saying any different. If you look at all the marketing, all the stuff on the website, it is designed for going out and exploring around cities, through the countryside, forestry roads, that kind of thing. And that's what it does well. The racks are big enough, you could easily get as much gear on there as you wanted to carry. The charger is small and light enough that you could easily fit it into whatever luggage you've got. I'll put a little shot of it in here because it's at home at the moment. The battery being removable obviously is a real bonus, because it does mean that as long as you're hitting places that don't mind you plugging in a battery in the corner, you could keep yourself juiced. And I don't think it's out of the question to think that come next spring, summer, you might see me out on a, I don't know, 2-3 day ride on this, just to sort of prove the point to myself and make an interesting little video series. I don't think there's much else that I can say. I generally end my gear reviews this way, just kind of petering out, realising that I haven't really planned any of this. Thank you very, very much to Engwe, who sent me a bike just at the moment I needed one. I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far, and I hope to enjoy it into the future. I'll put links to their website down below, to the L20 specifically, so you can go and look into that in more detail, check out their other models and what have you if you're interested. To my monthly Ko-fi supporters, thank you, and 1,000 times thank you. I'm currently trying my hardest to not work again and to make a go of my life as a YouTube influencer. It's not going exactly according to plan, but I'm getting there slowly, thanks to amazing people like yourselves. To all of the rest of you, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching right to the end. I appreciate it hugely. Please hit like if you have any more questions about the bike, about me, about my hat, about anything. Leave comments. If you would like to support the channel in any more solid way, you can hit the thanks button down below. You can follow the link down below to my Ko-fi page, where you can chip in to buy me a coffee. If stocks allow, you can buy one of my wooden spoons, maybe some jewellery, maybe some stickers. There is also a link down below to a book about Father Christmas fighting zombies that I wrote, that my friend Woodie illustrated, that you can buy. Oh, and there are a load of affiliate links as well to various bits of gear that I particularly rate and that you might be interested in. Clicking those gives me a little commission for anything that you buy in that shopping session. It doesn't have to be the thing I link to. So you can help me out just by shopping on Amazon, basically. If you click those, that would be massively appreciated. Whew. What an outro. What an outro, what a day. Yeah, that's me signing off. I've been out on my L20. I've done 20 kilometers or something today, and I haven't even blipped off one blip on the battery. So there you go, the battery is very decent. But yeah, I'm just waffling, just kind of spiraling out of control into the end of the video now. Sad really, isn't it? I start off these videos so kind of focused on it like a ninja, and I end like this, like a dithering old fool standing by the sea with cold fingers and his tummy rumbling because he didn't bring any sandwiches with him. Idiot. Anyway, I'll see you all on the next one. Bye now.